Hello and welcome to Mountaintop Media. We are doing the meeting recap, but today I have some special guests with me. They are part of why I got into this battle, why I started my political journey. And so as I'm talking about everything that happened yesterday at both meetings, 14 plus hour day, guys, and we're going to try to fit this into a 30-minute recap. I just wanted to be able to communicate to the public, but kind of have some discourse between the three of us. So I have Katie Gorman and Author Gorman with us. How's it going?
Good. Yeah, we've had a lot of excitement going on. We've been winning court cases on the state level, on the federal level. So as a parental rights activist and a Moms for Liberty member, I'm very excited about what the future holds.
Yeah, and we just did an interview on your podcast with one of the local Turning Point members. So everybody go over to the We the Parents podcast page and check that out. We have the new show, Faith, Family, and Freedom, and they'll have their own show channel soon. But it's exciting. Mountaintop is growing, and we are really just working to get the information out to the public because people don't understand how important what's happening in local government is to their everyday lives. Mm-hmm. And Katie, you say it all the time. What is it that you say?
Well,
you feel like who?
Oh, Chicken Little, yes. Just going around telling everybody the sky is falling, and everybody thinks that everything's fine. It's just trying to warn everybody that's what's coming down the pike. And if you start attending these meetings, you kind of start to see what's going on about a year in advance. Is that kind of what you're talking about now? So it takes about a year for things to start actually rolling. And then the people start showing up to the meetings. And that's kind of what we have going on now.
And we've been joking, things happen at the speed of government. Which is super, super slow. So we had two meetings yesterday, the Shasta County Board of Supervisors, followed by the Redding City Council meeting. And I was telling you guys a little bit about the fact that both meetings had a huge group from our population that showed up talking about the alternative custody location. And Author, you were asking, what were you asking?
Well, I was asking, how did the people not know that it was going to be in their own backyard? And the other thing I was asking is, what does it even mean? Like, what does alternative custody mean? And so I want to get some education on that.
Absolutely. And that's why I thought it was a really good idea to pull both of you in on this, because this is more than a recap where I could just go down my notes and talk to the audience and say, this is, what happened and do my normal rundown. We really need to break down where the communication gap happens, right? So the other thing is we have media outlets that don't put out a full narrative. They either don't cover something because it's not going to be fantastical or get clicks or dramatic. It's going to be just blah information, right? Or they spin it so that only part of the narrative is told. So the alternative custody program is going to be a 90-acre parcel that was given from the city to the county for, I believe it was $1. And so that property was transferred over to them. That agreement has already been done. It's done. That has been almost a year. I think it's about 8 months in the works. There were 3 properties being discussed, 3 different options, because the majority of crime, the majority of the people that are frequent offenders come from the city of Redding, right? Just because, and not because the city of Redding is any worse than everywhere. It's just the biggest part of Shasta County, right? So it makes sense that they would partner. It's mutually beneficial to RPD and to the city to have that available, right? So it's a program where hopefully, first step of many, we can work together, the city and the county, to make Shasta County better. So this is 90 acres off East Side Road out by Lake Haven Humane along the river. And it will have And Sheriff Johnson was talking to a few of the media outlets, and I really wanted to make sure that his points and what he was saying really got accurately depicted, because the lack of communication to the public is really why we were in the situation we were in yesterday. So I'm going to break down a little bit about what he said, and hopefully that fills you in on what we're at, but stop me if you have questions. Okay, so Troy Bartlome is the head of our Public Works Department. So anything that is county property, right? Roads, big infrastructure, stuff like that. So Sheriff Johnson said, Troy has taken this the way it is supposed to go. There will be time for public education and processes. Everything in government requires notification. It has time for public input. Every step has those times. Again, when they were talking about the 3 property options, all 3 were presented at the city of Reading. Unfortunately, we have a community that doesn't pay attention to what's getting on the agenda. So when we were told, hey, there's this property, there's this other property, the second property encompassed like part of Big League Dreams, which meant that Big League Dreams would either cease to exist or a section of it would be taken out, and that property would be like mulled over to be part of the correctional facility. And then this was the third option. I don't remember what the first one was. But he said Troy has done everything to follow these processes and make sure. And everything that was presented at yesterday's meeting for the contracts for the zone, or not the zoning, but the looking at all the ahead of surveys and all of that, that they have to do all the bureaucratic red tape. He's doing everything in an overabundance of caution. That way we don't have to go back and redo anything. So even though he's talking about the fact that there's a 1,200 bed jail space, that could be 20, 30 years down the road. Sheriff Johnson said the $12,000 or the 12,000 bed jail space is probably not going to be built in his lifetime, which is unfortunate, but it's hopeful for the people in this community that are worried about that specific part of it, right? So everything is done in an abundance of caution, and just because it's on the list doesn't mean it's happening right away. So he said they may feel left out, but it has not been intentional. And along this process, the community and those members will be included. He's not unsympathetic. He fully understands why they stand where they stand, right? And he fully agrees. I mean, I know that a few of us were talking yesterday, and one of their big concerns is there is a portion of it that will be a farm. That way, some of the people in the alternative custody program that are working can, work in the ground, in the dirt. It's helpful, but it's also a farm that can help with local food and sustainability, and it's a good thing all around. So they were talking about this farm, and the pesticides used can contaminate their groundwater because they all have wells. That is a very valid concern. But we are in Shasta County, where a lot of us have really become awakened to the dangers happening in our society and in our country, and MAHA is huge. And so I think that a lot of us would really be for, and somebody like John would be perfect to go in and educate them what stuff can be used that would not contaminate.
Right, like an organic farmer.
Yes.
We have a lot of organic folks out here. I mean, we even have the organic farming community. One of the presidents lives in our county or another county over, and I'm pretty sure that we can navigate those issues without pesticides and using organic-based fertilizers.
Right. So, I mean, there's solutions that will be able to, and I fully understand. My kids play outside. You came with me when we were looking at my house, and that was one of the reasons why we chose where I live is Katie and I showed up and all the kids were playing in the cul-de-sac, and we love that. Your kids play outside with the neighbor kids. I love that. Maybe that neighborhood becomes safer if we have 24-hour patrol that heads down that way, maybe not into their neighborhood, but on the entrance to their neighborhood, right? So maybe their neighborhood even becomes safer, right? So there's things that we could talk about, and absolutely valid concerns.
Right, and I think that when you think about acres, like 90 doesn't seem like a big number, but most people don't even have a half acre for their house. And in the current jail space, if you look downtown, I would imagine they don't even have 10 acres. So when you really think about what that looks like on a scalable map, if you look at the prison in Folsom, Folsom has a prison. If you've ever been to the city of Folsom, it is very populated. You cannot see the prison from anywhere in the city because they've made it to where you see cows, green grass, and pastures, and the prison is somewhere way over there. So if you were fearful, like we talk about fear a lot, if you're fearful that somebody might do a prison break and run away, by all means, 90 acres is a really far way to run, and I'm pretty sure there's folks that can prevent bad people from getting away in about 90 acres or less.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think when visiting Folsom, it's absolutely one of the most beautiful, amazing cities. It's got a great downtown area and a lot of really, really high-end homes right next to where the gates of the prison are. And yet this community is very much able to navigate it. One of my friends lived really close to that, to where you could hear, if the alarms went off at the prison, you could hear it. Probably the most obstructive part about it, or obtrusive part about it. But other than that, I didn't even really know where it was or anything. It's just absolutely beautiful place. So that's hopeful.
Yeah. Well, okay. So then the last part that really wants to, be communicated is, what is the alternative custody program, right? Well, this was kind of the brainchild of Sheriff Johnson. And we remember when he presented his wagon wheel of justice thing, and it had way too many components, a lot of nonprofits tied to it, a lot of places that could be money pits that maybe don't have provable outcomes, right? But what this is it is 45 acres for an eventual new jail that, again, probably will not happen in his lifetime. So when you look at it, like you said, the current jail sits, I think that entire block is less than 5 acres, right? So they sit on probably 1.5 to 2 acres because it's just very small but tall up and down. So 45 acres out in the countryside is going to be, tucked away. It's going to be, but that is an eventual new jail, again, far, far down the road. And then 35 acres is the alternative custody program. And that is, like I said, it's a farm. It is different work spaces for them. It is very low risk, but frequent offenders. To be part of this, they are looking at programs all throughout the country that do this already. To be part of this, there are very high expectations. And if you mess up, you go back to jail. But all of these people either have an ankle monitor or a check-in system, right? They are not violent offenders. They are not somebody who is going to be an immediate threat to your neighborhood. There may be somebody who has been struggling with, drug-related offenses or nonviolent crimes that is frequently reoffending, that they're trying to rehabilitate into a contributing member of society. Mm-hmm. So they're teaching them skills. They're giving them a place to come work. There's going to be a day center where they could get all of the, resources and the treatments and everything that they need at this day center, right? So it will really be more of a rehab type facility to better, put out a good output of contributing members, because 80% of crime is done by 20% of the offenders.
Right. And when you think about it, if you guys ever remember MTV, Dr. Drew, the left attacked him because he talks common sense things, even though he's not super conservative, patriotic guy. He's just a common sense guy that hangs out in the middle. But they canceled him. But what did they cancel him for? He said, some people out there, we have to fix the root of the problem. Maybe you are drug addicted. Maybe you're a criminal. Maybe you actually have mental health disorders. But what do we have to do, and it might be unpopular to fix what's going on, is we actually have to take you and hold you accountable for the actions that you commit. Whether you're addicted to substances, you have mental health disorder, you're a criminal, and we have to put you in jail.
Right.
We put you in jail, and then you're in jail until you're sober. Once you're sober and your mind is able to actually think of things, you're off the drugs, you're off the alcohol, you've actually got control of your mental health, this is the avenue from the jail to the rehab center that needs to happen. And without that piece, we are setting our people up for failure, right? Not for success. With the new program, we would set them up for success. With the current program we have, we are just setting people up for failure to leave the jail, and we expect people that have no tools to go out into a society and rebuild with something that they don't have. So this is a perfect way that we can help our next generation. Maybe we won't be here like Sheriff Johnson, but maybe our grandchildren will be adults and they'll live in a community where they're going to be safe and they're going to be protected. So it's something that we need to get behind.
Absolutely. So, and then the last part is 10 acres, and it's a 100-bed facility in partnership with a male re-entry program. So this is, again, a proven facility with a proven structure that's been working around the country, where they take men and they have them stay there, have them gain the tools that they need so that they can be rehabilitated, so that they can be good contributing members of our society, so that they can be good fathers, so that they can take responsibility, so they can do all of these things, right? And so it is a male focused, because that is a large population of the frequent offenders that they can then give the tools they need. So instead of a handout, which a lot of the programs that we have in our community are just handouts that feed the problem, this is a hand up to then turn you around. And if you go back and you watch the presentations that have been done, they've came and done presentations before, and they're coming to do another one here in the future. They have like 60 to 80% success rate with this. Well, when you have 80% of the criminal population creating, or 20% of the criminal population creating 80% of the crime, and you have 60 to 80% success in rehabilitating them, our crime level is going to drop drastically, right? And then if the people choose not to be part of this program, not to take advantage, they just go back to the jail. Right?
Yeah, it's an amazing opportunity to give people what they've been asking for. Left, right, or center, we all deal with crime. We all deal with public safety. We all deal with overcrowded hospital beds. We all deal with fires, right? So this is a good thing that our whole community could come behind, because we know that our people, whether they're having a hard time with their addiction or whatnot, we need to support our people in our community, and we need to give them safe streets and safe schools.
Absolutely.
So can I play like devil's advocate here for a second and just kind of
Sure.
give up some of the things that I've heard? I had a conversation with my grandma and my grandpa, who are now into their 80s, and I was talking to them about how exciting it is about us getting some of these things that we've been really wanting for like 6 years,
Right.
just us for fighting for these things, so we can have a place to put these people. And they said, we don't want that. And I said, what? You don't want that? And some of the reasons that they brought up, one is they felt like it wasn't our local criminals that were going to be housed in there. They were worried that other counties were going to be bringing in their criminals, and we were going to be doing that to get paid, but at the detriment of our county, because they were worried that these people were going to be released here. And some of the other concerns that they had, like funding and things like that, because a lot of times if we are taking on other people's problems, I should say, then what we're doing is maybe we're not charging the right amount. Maybe it's costing more. It's coming out
Right.
of our hide. And that's when they come back to us inevitably for a tax increase and things
Right.
like that.
So, and that's going to kind of bring us into another issue that we talked about at the meeting as we go down like what happened at the agenda. But our board and our county department heads have been very clear with every program and everything we're looking at that we're wanting our money to stay local, right? We're wanting to take care of our issue, the things that are happening in our area. So this ideally would be, again, there's going to be restrictions on who gets into the program and what it is. We are not farming out bed space to out of area, because that's our problem currently is we have small facilities doing this work and doing a good job, but they only have 3 beds available for Reading, 1 bed for Anderson, 1 bed for Shasta Lake City, and then they've got 6 beds for outer county, right? And so if I commit a crime in Reading and you commit a crime in Shasta Lake City and you commit a crime in Reading, you can't have that other spot with me because he committed a crime and he needs that bed. But even if he never committed the crime, that's being held for when he does, and you still don't have a bed to go to because I've taken the Reading one and he's going to have the Shasta Lake City one, right? So because those types of programs have allocations for out of area, we don't have the help for our local members, right? And so ideally, it would provide more services to our local people who need help. But also, all decisions that are being made really reflect that narrative of we're not looking to help the outside community. The days of taking, what was it a few years back, $2.7 million or whatever to take a busload of San Francisco's problem and have them shipped up here. Nobody magically can ever give us the information on how that happened or who made that decision, whether it was the county or city of Reading. Everybody's lips are sealed, but we were all told about it and we all saw it happening. Well, the days of us taking money to take other people's problems are over. We have people at the city level, at the county level, who are looking out for the locals. And we have elections next election cycle in 2026 where that really matters. Because you have Chris Kellstrom, who is very clear, it is Shasta County citizens first. You have Kevin Cry, who is very clear, it is Shasta County citizens first. And then you have 2 people wanting to be in those positions that are very much big government, the government will fix all of the problems to all of everything, even though they're the ones that created it. And they're going to see dollar signs and they're going to just go ahead and take it. We've seen it with one of them's work history and we've seen the other one with somebody's voting record, right?
Mm-hmm. That's why it's so important that what we found out through the last 5 years, the lockdowns and mandates or the recall, that if you don't have good representation at every level of government, especially in this situation, which is the county level, that you're going to get what you didn't vote for. Right? And Chris is amazing. He will put Shasta County first. Kevin is amazing. He will do that as well. The issue that we saw that Katie brought up, our grandparents are in their 80s. They were sold a false bill of goods, right? Because they got a jail. We're going to put this gigantic jail in Shasta County, and all those people that you have here in Shasta County will be housed right there. And then you had failed leadership, failed policies, failed sheriffs saying, I think we need some more money. How are we going to get that? How about we service 13 to 20 other counties and we just bring their inmates here so that we can have more money? Now, we don't need other people's problems. We have our own problems here. We have, almost 180,000 people in our county. And if 20% of the people in the county are committing problems, we can't even put them in jail. Right? So we know, we all have friends. They've gotten DUIs. They're probably on their 3rd DUI. I know a couple people. They just got an ankle monitor. 3 strikes, you're out, doesn't exist. Because why? We don't have beds to put them in there. So the thing is, if you do the crime, you got to do the time. And we can't take other people's problems. So if this is going to go forward, Kevin and Chris need to heavily campaign on that issue that in Shasta County, we take care of our own, and we're Shasta County first, because otherwise we're going to have, like you said, a busload of San Francisco, maybe some San Diego, who knows, maybe even other states sending their criminals here. And when they get out of jail, because of other failed policies. They just get released into our community. Not that they're horrible people, but they did horrible things to get there, and now they're in our town. And the other thing that people don't know is, like, when you go to jail, your family, you guys look it up, don't trust me, look it up for yourself, is that your family now gets free health care and free SNAP benefits and all these free things that taxpayers pay for. And then the families end up moving into our communities, which we love families, we love children, but then that also becomes our problem here in Shasta County. So when you bring in so many outside people, not for jobs, not for businesses, but for crime and criminals, that's not the kind of, what did you say, financial stability that we want.
Right.
Right? We want businesses, we want workers, and we just don't want that as part of our capital here in Shasta County.
Absolutely. So in that, right, we have people who really, really, really want to put Shasta County first. And that is why, and I know this has been a huge controversy, so another good thing to talk about is the True North facility. It is a mental health facility. That structure is a for-profit structure that does not have the oversight of the county and our elected officials who want to put Shasta County first. It would take anybody who has a dollar sign associated with. However, our director of health and human services was against this. And that is why our board voted the majority to shut it down, was they were supporting her in her decision to be against it, because the liability and all of the billing, all of the work, all of the everything fell on their department. And when everything else failed and all these promissory IOUs and this free money from everywhere else falls through, or a for-profit company goes under because they have a $200,000 offering for every administrative person, and we've seen it happen, right? They've seen it happen. We've seen it happen. So our local elected officials said, no, that's not happening. So when you hear people complaining about why is the True North mental health facility being shut down, it is because it will bring out of area people. That liability falls on us, on our staff that is already pushed to its extent. And it is a for-profit facility with these nonprofits that either do not want us to be transparent about their finances, because one of the partnering with it, we had somebody doing research on some of their finances, and we were hit with the author of the articles was hit with a cease and desist letter. That does not say you want true transparency on what's happening in local government with your local tax dollars, right? So that alone had me emailing every supervisor, hello, red flags. They don't want you looking at their money. Mm-hmm. Why would you do this, right? So that got shut down. But the thing is, all these other programs are going to offer the things that Shasta County needs. Do we have people with mental health issues? Absolutely. Speaking of DUIs, we have somebody who has 7 incidences on 6 different days. That person has a serious issue. They need mental health and they need medical intervention because they have a serious problem. Would a facility like that be great? Sure. Build it in Tehama County. Build it in Siskiyou County. But the alternative custody program will help that individual. The next thing we're going to talk about might help an individual like that, right? So the next thing that was on the agenda was $2.2 million of our opioid settlement funds being given to the Good News Rescue Mission. So the Good News Rescue Mission is planning a large facility that would have 75 long-term solution spaces. This is not a lockdown facility. It is not a correctional facility. This is, I'm opting in. I want the help. I need the help. It would give all those people around that area somewhere to go to get the help they need to recover. The other thing is, and it addresses that main concern, it is Shasta County first. And They already have a proven record. The past 10 years, I didn't even know this program was available. I'm so glad to know that it is, and we need to get it out to the entire community. Business partners in our community have partnered with the Good News Rescue Mission for the Journey Home program. Now, what that program does is if you are homeless and you are here in our community, but you have family outside of this community, they will pay for your transportation to send you to wherever you live so that you have the support and backing of your family, because people who have that support do better. And not only that, not is it just a bus ticket and goodbye, don't let the door hit you, right? But they set you up with the resources that you're going to need in that community so that you're prepared for success. So it is a very caring and a very kind and compassionate solution to remove the people who were maybe dumped off here, who maybe were stowing away on a train or got a bus or saw an advertisement for free healthcare in New York on a subway and took a train over here. Whatever it was that brought them to the Reading area, they went to a local school or a local, there's a lot of people that talk about people who go out to a local ministry group, and then once they get out of that program, they don't know what to do with themselves, and then they end up being homeless. If you're part of that, right, and you find yourself lacking, they will give you what you need to get back to your support system. So this was a great use of some of the opioid settlement funds to pour into, and it's being matched by other grants. It is the amount that they had 3 weeks left to find so that they can get the full match. And this entire program, he said, is about a $24 million project. And Shasta County is putting in $2.2 million for a solution.
Yeah,
for
amazing.
Good.
Yeah, and the Good News Rescue Mission, I mean, that's a long history in Shasta County. Pastor Royal Blue started that so many years ago. And then if anybody ever went to North Valley Baptist and they knew Pastor Blue, he was a man of conviction, of faith, of family. He knew what to stand for with freedom. He was a veteran. And he came into this local community back when Reading and Shasta County was pretty much nothing. 5,000 people, like our grandparents talk about. There's like 2,000 to 5,000 people here. Could you imagine that? We have like 90,000 in Shasta County, or City Reading, but back then it was like very small. But they had the same problems that we face now. And his solution was to have our community help each other out, and started the Good News Rescue Mission. And they've had dorms, they've had success rates. We had one of our friends, Jim, that helped in our Upward ministry. And he was amazing. He went through their whole program. It was 3 years. They set him up for success. So this new program that they've done in the last 10 years not only has a proven track record, but before that even, they've had a proven track record. And just go to the Good News Rescue Mission, and they have testimony after testimony of people who they've helped right here get back on their feet, reunited with your family. They have jobs. They're productive members of society. They have their children back. So the Good News Rescue Mission, if you have time, talent, and treasure, please invest in that. But also look at this, as what we're talking about, as an avenue of helping out our local community, but also continuing that legacy that Shasta County has, and that we take care of our own and we pay it forward.
I just want to say how impressed I am when you just said that it's a $24 million project, and that it's something that the community wants so badly,
Right.
that they invested the majority of the money, and all that the quote unquote government had to do was take it to that next level of through the finish line. And that to me is what we should be looking for when we're thinking about the projects here in this county. Like, everyone loves the rodeo. We've all supported the rodeo, and when the rodeo was having Down and Out, the community showed up. That's a perfect example of one thing. And we just can't get stuck in that lull that we just need the city of Reading to shell out the money to keep those things up and running, because the community, like this program, really wants it. They will step up and they will make sure that happens. And it's just so positive. I love that.
Yeah, and they did the work, right? They have a proven track record of leadership. They've raised a bunch of money, but they've done the work to go after the grants and the funding and stuff that needed the matching. In fact, they had the full amount. But one of the forms of financing that they were able to acquire was a forgivable loan. So they got the loan, and it was one of those, like, if you bring this to fruition, you don't have to pay it back. But because it was listed as a loan, the state said, for us to match this grant funding, you can't have that debt. And so you need to make up that 2.2 million, which is where the county came in and said, we have opioid funds, let's do it, right? So that's one of those things that it's just beneficial to our community. And then lastly on that is Christy Coleman, who's the director of HHSA. She came in and they said, how do you feel about this, right? Because they can't turn around and say, sorry, True North, you're out. She doesn't support it. So we're going to vote against it so that we can back her. But this one, yep, you're in. They said, how do you feel about it? Do you support this? And she came up and she said, yes, because the billing goes through Medi-Cal. The billing goes through their insurance companies, and the burden does not fall on our staff. And so this does not have the same liabilities with it that True North had, right? Yeah. So it overall is a better package for our community. Mm-hmm. So then, we have Nolda Short, who is a treasure and amazing. And if you ever want to send a cookie package or an edible arrangement or just flowers to the county office for somebody that does great things, send it to Nolda Short. She is our auditor and controller, and she works so hard to make sure every penny is accounted for in our county, right? And I love that we're going to talk about this right before we jump into the city of Reading, okay? Because she went through and she did a report on the audit of fees that was done in the county. And they audited all the fees in all the different departments, found out where there were failures, where there were miscalculations, where there were issues. There was zero fraud found. There were overages, underages, you're dealing with people are fallible. And it's outside departments. She went through and she audited certain aspects of it. And then what she did is she brought them the findings, said this is what the issue is, and over the next week is presenting to them, in your department, this was the issue. Maybe take all your other programs that you have that are relatable to this, make sure you go along the same steps, and audit all of those yourself, right? Because next year I might grab 5 different ones. Let's make sure they're all good. But she said she's doing a training with them on the most common errors or the things that, most departments struggled with, or the things that seem to across the board not make sense. And she's training them. So we have a true leader who just came out of our budget cycle like a rock star, comes in and starts auditing these departments, and then is taking the time to bestow knowledge on them so that they themselves can take pride in it and do better. Right? That's leadership. So Nolda deserves a round of applause and all the goodies. And I love her. And she is always just so positive too in the meetings, like all the craziness, all the chaos, all the drama. And she's just so positive.
I like what you just said, because so many candidates had campaigned on a fiscal audit, and Nolda Short has the jurisdiction and authority to do that. And she's doing it. She's doing her job. She's presenting the information. She's finding that, like you said, there's overages and underages, and she's explaining all that and telling people how they can do a better job. So I'm very glad that we have the people in position of authority that are actually willing to finally do the fiscal audit.
Absolutely. So, that basically summarizes the meat and potatoes of what happened at the county board meeting. We have the normal public comment. We have, all the items on the consent agenda. I cannot tell you enough times. Go check that. Like, there are huge financial decisions being made in your community, and it just gets rubber stamped, right? It's 400 pages of documents on average. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 7, but I read it every week. It's about 400 pages. Go look at it. But it also tells you, what's going on.
Well, but also, one of the things that we love to talk about is how you start to get into it.
Right.
Like it starts in, we don't watch, you know, our juicy reality TV shows anymore. We're like, oh, what? They're going to put a facility? Like, it's
Yeah.
just so funny how nerded out we
It's
get.
amazing. I know. I joke all the time. I completely gave up sports, and when my team wins, we all win because this is what it is. You get involved in your local government. You start to see who cares and who asks the questions. And you know, there was an item on the consent agenda, and I'm about to make your skin crawl, but it was a contract to send money and renew the contract with Shasta County Office of Education on the Triple P parenting program. Wow. And I was just like, why are we giving them more money? Like, this program does nothing. Like, maybe there's a handful of people who have found it productive, but it just is fluff without a lot of proven results. And there's, you know, money in there for administrative fees, and there's it just is so much excess. Like, and when you look at the staff report of how many people it actually helps and what it's doing, why are we spending that big of a chunk of money on helping 42 people or helping 12 people here or helping, like, I just feel like there's such better uses of that money, right? Like, let's put a correctional officer on every campus. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's worry about safety of our community, and then our kids won't need as much of that type of programming because they will be more confident and they'll be safe, and the parents will be more confident and know that their kids are safe.
Scully doesn't need that money.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, they told us for the last several months that we have a $10 million surplus and figure out what to spend it on. So I'm pretty sure we don't need money for the Triple P program. And if we're getting money from the county, like, we need to have NOLDA come in and maybe do a fiscal audit of SCOE. Let's doge SCOE and figure out why we have excess money in the tune of $10 million that they want us to spend on pet projects, and actually invest that community back. You know, we can invest that money back into what you're talking about. Like, if I have $10 million, we need to focus on the education of our children. Why do we have $10 million excess dollars, right? We'll put that money into educating our children, and we don't need money from the county supervisors. They should be spending on the money on the things that they have jurisdiction and authority over. And over at the County Office of Education, we should be spending our money on the things that we have. So let's produce results and get our children educated and keep our, on the county level, keep the streets safe.
Yeah, and let's not order 6 pallets of Narcan just because there's grant funding for it, and then dump all this money into, you know, how we figure that out and how we distribute that and trainings. And I'm grateful that the training was done with the distribution on campuses. That I agree with, because I don't agree with the vending machines that were voted on recently where there's no training. I absolutely don't agree with that. But instead of that, let's order 6 pallets of pencils. Drop those off on every campus, the good kinds. Like, let's get the good ones,
Ticonderoga, baby.
And let's drop pallets of
about.
Pencils at every campus so that the teachers stop buying that themselves. And then let's put a safety officer on every campus. Right. And then all of a sudden, things start to improve, right? I agree. Let's doge them. They need questions asked. So, since we're talking budgets, who wants to dive into the city of Reading?
We should do that on put them on a cliffhanger and do it on a second video.
You're right. This went a little long. So, that is Shasta County Board of Supervisors. Stay tuned. Come back. Go to the bathroom. Like author says in his, go get your coffee, get comfortable, put on your PJs, and let's dive into the city of Reading, because I'm going to play some videos for you.